Hello everybody, this is Manu S and welcome back to another Eternal News episode with more spoilers. We already got 5 more new spoilers, so time to dive right in. First we have a new curse called Regression. Requires a single primal, and at the start of the cursed unit's turn transform it into a random unit that costs 1 less. When it would cost 0, kill it. That's quite a weird card, given that we have permafrost for, not permafrost, polymorph is what I was thinking of. Polymorph for 1 less, that it immediately turns it into a 0 cost 1/1. So why would we want to turn it into a 4 cost random unit that costs 1 less and having to wait a lot of turns for it to like shrink further? Sure, there are some curse synergies in the new set with Mirror's Night Blade or Shade, I think, the new 2-drop, and also the new, I think, 6-drop, the 2/5 flying that gives you a 3/3 unseen with a random battle skill. But yeah, the card just seems way too slow and weak to be worth it really, so I mean, artwork looks cool, it's kind of flavorful and all, but seems pretty terrible. Even in limited it doesn't seem very good. Like even Polymorph wasn't that great in limited depending on what deck you were on. This just is way worse, so a bit confused by the card. It just doesn't make much sense for the card to exist. Maybe there's some more in the set that makes the card a bit more appealing and reasonably different from Polymorph to make it a considerable alternative, but right now I don't see it. Alright, on to the next. Next we have Molten Fist, yet another legendary. We are pretty close to having seen all legendaries in the game, there's not that many left. Molten Fist has attack equal to your armor, so that's actually pretty sweet. Like, it's always a 6/6 for 6 the turn you play it, but you have to keep in mind that the weapon shrinks with losing armor. So you hit something, take like 4 damage, kill something, your 6/6 weapon turns into a 2/2 weapon. So that's something that's worth keeping in mind. Does double fire, so not that hard to put into any deck that plays fire unless you are like splashing it, then it's a little harder, but still potentially manageable on 6. But yeah, there are some nice synergies, like for example getting a 10/10 weapon for 6 thanks to a Throne Warden on 5 and this on turn 6 is definitely appealing, because then you can kill whatever, but keep in mind if you hit say a 6/6 with it, you suddenly only have a 4/4 weapon that's that impressive anymore. But yeah, it's also pretty threatening to the face when you're not losing armor, for example, and you can also pump it back up. There's the new 3-drop Valkyrie that immediately makes it a 7/7 the turn it comes out and so on. So there are a couple of decent synergies. There's Roland's Favor and so on and so forth. It's definitely going to be an interesting weapon at least to keep in mind and look at. A relic weapon, that is. So yeah, interesting card. Not sure how good it's going to turn out, but at least something to toy around with and keep in mind. Could be good, could be a bit underwhelming, not quite sure yet. Alright, next we have Sensebitter. That was the very latest spoiler, a new dinosaur. Pretty fragile dinosaur, 4 cost 5/2, super splashable at one time as a 4-drop if you so desire, and kind of a cool new summon effect. It increases the cost of each spell in the enemy hand by 1. So this is like a guaranteed way to delay that harsh roll by a turn or that crystallize if you play it on curve and they already have it in hand. Still doesn't protect you from them drawing it off the top. But yeah, it is a potentially interesting card. Not that impressed by its stats, like 5/2 makes it really weird, very fragile, kind of like not great as a unit on 4, but the ability is quite interesting. I wish the stats would be a bit more appealing and balanced, so that you could just put it into a deck that the stats make it fine and then you just get this as an upside. But right now the stats are like kind of a bad draft common with a solid summon ability attached to it, making it still only a bit better version of a bad draft common. The fact that it's a dinosaur obviously helps because of tribal stuff and so on. But yeah, the card seems a bit fringe simply because of how they chose to stat it, in my opinion. Really cool artwork, really love the artwork here. Having more interesting and utilitarian dinosaurs is definitely nice and helps towards making dinosaur tribal deck a real contender. And I mean, they were already pretty decent last time I tried them as a deck tech. You can check out if you haven't yet. But yeah, looks a bit more like a potential sideboard option right now rather than like that good main deck, because the stats are just a bit too awkward. Alright, next we have yet another legendary. Amelie Cloud Marshal. That was the Reddit spoiler they announced on Twitter. Triple justice makes sure that you usually want to be 2 factions at the most, leaning towards justice, but in return you get a 4/8 flying for 5, which is great stats. Making sure that it dies to vanquish still, so there's like the usual answers to it, not making it like low attack like a 3/8. In some cases would have actually been better because this card is more about surviving and the ability than the stats, so a 3/8 might have actually been more powerful than a 4/8. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason it's a 4/8. And 4/8 basically means the card really locks up the board well, plays great defense, really hard to kill, basically blocks relic weapons very well, survives all the like damage-based removal, really needs to be hard removaled, and is quite scary when it doesn't get answered. Like when Amelie attacks, play a 1/1 Valkyrie with flying, then increase this ability by +1/+1. So you get a 1/1 Valkyrie, then a 2/2, then a 3/3, and so on. So the card kind of is powerful enough to just win the game on its own. Like if Amelie survives, she can win the game on its own. Also keep in mind, it's when she attacks, not when she deals damage to the opponent. So you get it right away, even the opponent then has a way to deal with her in combat. For example, you at least get the 1/1 Valkyrie out of it. Or wherever you are at the stacking of the ability. And she's a Valkyrie herself, so we finally have a great non-Argent port 5-drop Valkyrie to curve Valkyrie Spire Guard, to curve Valkyrie Spire Guard into, because now you have Enforcer, Spire Guard, and Cloud Marshal, and we're getting that much closer to Valkyrie Spire Guard being playable. I kind of assume that with the new set there will probably be enough good Valkyries to make Valkyrie Spire Guard a real deal. And yeah, this is like on a similar power level as Tavrod, I would say, except in some way it forces you less to skew your deck towards it, because Tavrod needs all the cards in the deck to actually hit, while this just doesn't need any setup of your deck. It doesn't even need Valkyries around. It's just a great standalone threat that has slightly less domination potential than Tavrod on like the first 1 or 2 triggers, but snowballs pretty hard. And I guess it's a downside that Amelie doesn't have endurance, so it's a bit more, she's a bit more vulnerable. Or is it a he? Might actually be a he. He is a bit more vulnerable to permafrost and a bit worse at defense, because he can't be offense-defense rather than, it can only be offense or defense rather than both like Tavrod, but evasion is also worth a lot. So yeah, it's a really cool card, definitely constructed staple. Just have to see what deck best suits Amelie, but really excited about this card. It's a really strong 5-drop. And last but not least, this is like really a really big image compared to usual. And a pretty cool card actually. 3 cost, double primal, 4/4, so pretty good stats, overwhelm, and sort of an upside downside kind of thing. So when an enemy plays a spell, sacrifice Daring Pioneer to negate it. So this can be kind of a downside if the opponent has like kind of bad throwaway spells. Like in a way, this is a bit comparable to False Prince, in the sense that, for example, Varus Favor still kills it, for example, but unlike with False Prince, they at least don't get the 1 health, and they also don't get the power. So it's definitely a better trade there. It's an Explorer, so that's also pretty relevant. Like, can curve Evelina into this and have like a pretty strong board and set up your dinosaurs. Another nice puzzle piece towards an Explorer dinosaur tribal deck. And yeah, the Overwhelm seems a bit random actually, but might come in handy here and there. 4 health on a 3-drop is always like kind of the benchmark where they start to become above average, because then they don't die to torch, they block all the like 1 to 3 drop aggro like most of the 1 to 3 cost aggro units, and are just very reliable offense defense units. And yeah, it can even be an upside, like if the opponent is a spell light deck with a couple of like key spells, like for example they have Harsh Rule but not another way to eat Pioneer. Pioneer will even protect you from a Harsh Rule, for example. So this is like somewhere between a slight downside, because it's like a bit easier to removal than other units, because they can just use any spell to removal it, but they still trade 1 for 1 with the spell. So it's not like, for example, with False Prince, like I said, they kill it and get the power with their favor. You can just throw away their favor to kill your Pioneer. But sometimes it just locks them out of playing their powerful swing card that they really need. Like Amelie, for example, can sometimes be in a situation where all they have is like Rise, Stash, or Harsh Rule. Having to play those into a Pioneer, for example, seems pretty painful. So yeah, it's a pretty cool card, I like it. Also like a pretty nice kind of proactive, tempo-y, aggressive card, and a relevant tribe. So we'll see how it plays out, but definitely an interesting and kind of cool design, kind of a Eternals twist on the if this gets targeted by a spell or ability, sacrifice it illusion ability that we know from Magic. This is a bit like more positive, negative spin on it that can even be good for you, while the other one is always bad for you, and so on. So yeah, that rounds out today's spoilers. A pretty cool and interesting round of spoilers, I think. Fairly many cards with constructed implications and interesting design directions. So I'm getting more and more pumped about the new set. I'm really excited. Like, there's so many cards already that seem pretty impactful and game-changing, or like likely to make archetypes at the fringe of playability real decks, or spawning entirely new archetypes, for example. So can't wait to see the rest of the set and start brewing and tuning old archetypes and so on. Alright, that's it for today's Eternal News episode once again. As usual, if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like the video, and if you don't want to miss anything in the future, please subscribe and turn on the notification icon down below. Really appreciate all the support from you guys, and that's it with the latest batch of spoilers. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next video. I'm Manues, and I'm out. Bye.